Great. Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today to learn more about how we're scaling Changemaker education and engaging a growing number of future changemakers at the University of New Hampshire. My name is Faina Bucher, and I'm the director of the Changemaker Collaborative at UNH. The Changemaker Collaborative is a joint venture between our Sustainability Institute, our business school, and our public policy school. I provide leadership to numerous programs at the Changemaker Collaborative, including this Changemaker Fellowship, and I'm so thrilled to be here today to share our program with you. Before we begin, I'd like to ask my colleagues to also introduce themselves. Jade?
Hi everyone, my name is Jade Chalkley and I'm the peer-to-peer coordinator for the Sustainability Institute and Changemaker Collaborative. I'm a recent addition to the team as well as to UNH, and I serve as an assisting Faina and Caitlin in developing our Changemaker Fellowship, as well as connecting it to other peer-to-peer programs within the Sustainability Institute. Prior to being at UNH, my experience has primarily been in sustainability offices in other higher ed institutions. So, Caitlin.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Caitlin Durnbaugh. I'm a senior at UNH studying Spanish and Human Development Family Studies. And I serve as the student lead for the Changemaker Fellowship. And I'm also a Changemaker coach. So this means I focus primarily on the student's experience and the development of the fellowship itself.
Thank you so much. So Caitlin and Jade will give you a more in-depth view of UNH's Changemaker Fellowship. So I'll just give you a bird's eye view first. So the purpose of the initiative. A few years ago, as the Changemaker Collaborative was finding its place at the university, our executive director, Dr. Fiona Wilson, and I started hearing from seasoned students, those who were about to graduate. They were sharing with us that they weren't aware of our programs, they were about to leave UNH, and that they were now just starting to realize that they hadn't really found their purpose and that they wanted to be change makers but had no idea where to start. These are seniors, right? And we've all probably heard this before. So our students felt cheated out of time. The Changemaker Fellowship is our bold experiment rooted in what we have learned from working with students over the last several years. It's our response to three questions. What does it truly take to educate and support changemakers? How can we engage more deeply with students across their 4 years of college and even before college? And how can we exponentially scale the number of students with whom we engage? The Changemaker Fellowship aims to scale participation in Changemaker programs by helping students find their purpose and a like-minded peer group. It's intentionally and explicitly supporting all students with diverse backgrounds, interests, and life experiences throughout college and beyond, with high-impact real-world experiences to build a life and a career at the intersection of doing well and doing good. So first piloted in 2019, we had 8 committed students. The program then grew by 31, and in 2020, we had a total of 39 students. This is our evidence of this generation's desire to build changemaker careers and to connect with other UNH students who are invested in making a difference. We're fortunate that this is a generation of students who is aware of and cares deeply about engaging through their education and future careers to address pressing social, environmental, and economic issues. These views have also been shown to deeply influence the types of careers these individuals seek and the types of organizations and causes towards which they aspire to work. So reassuringly, Generation Z is not a generation that wants to observe, but rather they want to contribute and make their mark. They see an obligation and an opportunity to address the societal issues created by past generations. So that's the good news. However, undergraduate students are also aware that they can't do it alone. Their beliefs lend shape to the kind of undergraduate education that they are seeking and demanding. They're looking for greater focus on concepts such as environmental sustainability, corporate social responsibility, shared value, and social entrepreneurship. Undergraduates today want to do good for society as advocates and leaders, but recognize that they require the appropriate training and mentorship to make that possible. The Changemaker Fellowship embodies a long-range vision at the University of New Hampshire, which is already a recognized national leader in sustainability, to significantly increase opportunities for students to engage in tangible, high-impact, community-engaged sustainability projects on campus and off. As a public institution of higher ed, we have an important role to play. The fellowship is our contribution to the university-wide goals of enhancing student success and well-being and expanding academic excellence. It's also a driver of enrollment and retention at UNH, particularly between the first and second year, which is the time when the highest attrition occurs among undergraduate students. So, the program is improving rates of enrollment to UNH in an increasingly competitive enrollment market while improving retention. For example, we were just interviewing a student a few weeks ago for the Changemaker Fellowship. She was still unsure of her college choice, she hadn't yet enrolled, and in our conversation, she shared with us her intended major. And we were able to offer her an opportunity to speak with a current Changemaker Fellow who's also in that major. It took her about a week to get back to me, but she took us up on that offer. This gave her an opportunity to make a connection with her first UNH student and offered an opportunity for some casual peer mentorship to take place, giving her a connection to the university. I'm sure you can now see why we're so excited about the potential of this new program to help us scale our impact, engaging more students and helping UNH achieve strategic goals for attracting and retaining students. So, what are we planning today? We'll introduce the mission of the Changemaker Collaborative, describe the details of the Changemaker Fellowship, share with you all our longer-term vision, as well as some examples of student deliverables, and we'll be sure to leave some time for questions to be answered at the end. So, the mission of the Changemaker Collaborative is to inspire, train, and support the next generation of changemakers who have the confidence and skills to create a more sustainable world. We aim to do this by engaging students in meaningful experiences to hone their skills and become a force for positive change on campus and beyond, and to prepare for a future of change making. Caitlin, I'm going to pass it over to you to talk about our program.
Awesome. Thanks, Faina. So the Changemaker Fellowship is broken into 3 major parts. The first is monthly meetings, in which we call happy hours. And they're based in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and really serve as an opportunity to expand the minds of our fellows on the world's most pressing issues. The way that we do that is by inviting guest speakers. Sometimes we'll do some think tank activities, but the main portion of our happy hours are student-crafted deliverables relating to the Sustainable Development Goals that we vote on having or presenting about each month. So for example, if the cohort has voted to discuss quality education that month, groups of fellows and mentors will design a 5 to 7 minute presentation about a solution that they've discovered, for example, using Solutions U Network. Then following each presentation, we have a Socratic style discussion amongst the whole cohort about that solution that they've discovered, what the students think about it, things like that. The second part of the fellowship is being partnered one-on-one with a peer mentor, or what we call a Changemaker coach. Changemaker coaches are usually upperclassmen students who have successfully completed a high-impact learning opportunity that we offer at the Changemaker Collaborative. Our Changemaker coaches are really there as a support system for our fellows. So they, and the Changemaker coaches, and so they're the support system for our fellows, and that means that they meet twice a semester, and their goal is to get to know the passions and the interests of our fellows. Then they can act as a pipeline to connect them to other opportunities, classes, or even scholarships that fit that student's area of desired change. Then we get to the third part of our fellowship, which touches on those high-impact learning opportunities that I mentioned before. We offer a variety of opportunities to students at UNH, like internships, consulting clinics, and even idea competitions. However, specifically, our fellows are pre-accepted into a learning opportunity that we call Semester in the City, which is a 15-week-long internship program that allows students to live and work full-time in Boston for a change-based organization. And what's great is not only that they get this opportunity, they're working for this awesome organization, but they're also earning 16 credits like they're a full-time student. And depending on their major, some of those credits actually count towards that specific major. They can choose any point in their college career to participate in this program, and then doing so will actually allow them to be a Changemaker coach down the road. And forgive me, the lights just turned off, so we're gonna go with it. But next, we're going to give you a step-by-step process of what it's like for our first years to be in the Changemaker Fellowship. So first, upon their acceptance to UNH, high school seniors are going to receive an email from us inviting them to our fellowship. Then in the spring, so spring of their senior year, we do virtual interviews where we want to get a sense of their prior experience making change in their communities, as well as their desires to do so in the future. This is also an opportunity for us to provide more information about the Changemaker Fellowship, answer any questions that they may have, things like that. And ideally, the fellowship lead or another Changemaker coach is in on that meeting so they can answer more student-focused questions. Then upon acceptance into the program, students receive students are going to receive an email from us accepting them in and then congratulating them upon their entrance, and as well as information about who their Changemaker coach will be. So soon after, all coaches and fellows attend an orientation where they get to meet the coaches and fellows, as well as go over any information regarding the upcoming year. When school starts, so do happy hours and socials. So because of the sheer size of our cohort, we wanted to provide more opportunities than just our once-a-month meetings and to really engage with our students. So this may include group dinners, documentary watch parties, small workshops, or even monthly volunteer opportunities. This happens for both semesters, and then really the summer is the opportunity to start planning for the upcoming year of fellows. So finalizing interviews and then using feedback from our fellows to prepare for an even greater next year. So up next, Jade is going to actually give you a little bit more information about the ideas and framework that we're designing for the upcoming years.
I was on mute, sorry. All right, so thanks, Caitlin. Since our program is relatively new and we're still designing a more formal framework, we have even more objectives for the future. We hope to build it into more of a life design-centered program with an emphasis on developing our students not only in their knowledge of sustainability and their roles, but also about themselves and their own development. So to do this, we're working on creating different objectives for the students each year that they're in the program. So the first 2 years, we hope to focus on the sustainable development goals and what those goals and initiatives look like in our students' communities. So in order to demonstrate that, semester 1, they will focus on UNH specifically, semester 2 with the local New England area, semester 3 with the United States, and semester 4 with global initiatives or other countries of their interest. So in addition, starting in semester 3, at the beginning of their second year, we'll also begin incorporating professional development and networking opportunities. Since they'll be a little bit older and they'll be ready to start looking a little bit more into those networking opportunities and professional development. The third year of the program will then have a heavier focus on human-centered design and leadership among their peers, allowing for the program to remain by students for students. So by now, the hope is that they'll also have done one of those programs, an internship or fellowship that's affiliated with the Changemaker Collaborative, so like the Semester in the City program that Caitlin mentioned earlier. Students in their third year will hopefully become coaches and recruiters within the program. Their senior year, students will hopefully be working on developing the program even more and finding those resources for the first and second year students, as well as recruiting for future changemakers. So moving forward, we're going to be implementing new techniques to assist in that 4-year design plan. Human-centered design will be a large part of the planning on the long-term goals to make the fellowship program, again, for students by students. Prior to now, the structure of the curriculum each year has been a little less formalized, and in doing that, there will be more thought-out leadership roles for each year, as well as professional development opportunities. These opportunities, along with informational interviews where students meet and network locally, are something that our students have been requesting to be worked into the program. Blog posts are also a tool that we plan to use in creating additional formalized output opportunities for our upper-level students who want tangible resources in their second year and beyond. So students in their first year will be primarily creating presentations around the SDGs, while students in their second year may use blog posts to better distribute their research and their learning. So just a little bit different of a tangible outcome. So as expected, like many other programs around the university, the Changemaker Fellowship obviously had to transition and make changes during COVID-19. So these are some of the ways that we navigated those challenges. And in this slide, we have the challenges listed on the top row and the solutions for those below. The first of these being the inability to meet in large groups. So during times where meetings were allowed on campus, we decided to actually split our large group into 2 smaller groups with the ability to meet on Zoom whenever necessary. So during times that we were unable to meet in person due to COVID restrictions, we were able to fully transition to a virtual format using Zoom and incorporating as many team builders and extra icebreakers for engagement as possible. The second challenge is internship interest and experience. So internship opportunity is a big part of our program. We really want students to be involved, and we've tried to mitigate the lack of enthusiasm about going to Boston during such a turbulent year by really reiterating the importance of internships even during an unprecedented semester. So students still need to gain experience, and many of these opportunities transition to virtual or semi-virtual formats anyways. So we've been encouraging this as still an opportunity for them. We've also tried to keep everyone updated and informed about changing policies in the programs as they become involved, and encourage them to apply to a new program semester in the city at UNH if they can't go to Boston. So that program allows them to stay in Durham, New Hampshire, or near the university rather than moving to the city if they can't do that this semester. The final challenge that we want to mention is community building. Virtual formats can be really tough for engagement and networking, but we've tried really hard to work on doing as much engagement as possible, as well as developing socials and ways to connect virtually. This includes creative activities and icebreakers, movie nights that are streamed together, and other COVID-safe service opportunities like Caitlin mentioned earlier. So now that you have a feel for what the program actually looks like and how we see it evolving in the future, Caitlin's going to talk a little bit more about how it's going right now and the impact has been.
Thanks, Jade. So yeah, we really wanted to give you more of a visual of some of the deliverables and achievements that our fellows have completed during their time at the fellowship. So the first one on our left is a presentation that a Changemaker coach and fellow group created during one of our happy hours. For this month in particular, we were talking about quality education, and it was really interesting because the students took their own twist on it and presented about how education was a tool that could actually decrease infant mortality rates amongst high-risk mothers. So it was super interesting. The next one in the middle here is actually a screenshot from this past year's Social Venture Innovation Challenge, or what we call SVIC. And SVIC is an idea competition where students identify a social, economic, or environmental problem, and then they get to design a solution for it. And so several Changemaker coaches and fellows created a team, and their idea actually won categories for most impact potential and first place for audience choice. And then finally on the right, this last example is from a speech that was given during the student's time doing semester in the city. So at the end of every student's internship, students are tasked with giving a special TED Talk style speech that really gives the story of their internship and their takeaways from the program. And this really resonates deeply with me because not only was Heather, the girl pictured here, she was my first Changemaker fellow as a mentor, but then when she did semester in the city, she worked for an organization called 826 Boston, which was the internship site that I had when I did semester in the city 2 years ago. And so as you can see, even though our program has only been around for 2 years, students are taking advantage of the opportunities that we're offering, and then they're combining them with these professional development skills that we're teaching along the way, and really creating quality work and tangible success during their college career that they can use in the future, whether that be job interviews or things like that. So we just wanted to thank you so much for your time and engagement with us. And if you would like to follow up on anything following the presentation, feel free to contact us. We would love to talk to you more. So our email and our website are here. And I think now we can open it up for some questions.
So feel free to put questions in the chat. If anybody has specific questions, we can answer them. I'll repeat them out, and you can either direct them to one of us or all of us, depending on whatever your question is. All right, well, I will start us off with a question for Caitlin then. Caitlin, do you want to maybe just describe your experience as both a fellow and a coach, and even maybe a little bit about semester in the city and kind of how you think it's shaped your college experience overall?
Oh my gosh, such a good question. There's going to be a lot of information, so let me try to keep it concise. We'll start off with semester in the city because that's what came first. I did semester in the city my sophomore year of college. Like I said, I'm a senior now. And I had never been to Boston. I'm from Ohio, so New England as a whole was super new to me. And then you threw me into the city and it was a lot for me. But you know what? I wanted to take the new opportunity, and I was really just rolling with the punches. And so I did semester in the city. And like I said, I worked for an organization called 826 Boston, which is a youth writing and publishing nonprofit. And it was really awesome. When we do semester in the city, you do your internship, so you work full time, and then you also take 2 classes based on social innovation. And so that was really cool because it was completely different than what I would have been getting at UNH. You know, I was really learning, I think I was rewiring my brain on solving social issues, but I was also being able to put what I was learning into practice in a real world functioning job. And so that was really awesome. And then you throw on top of that I was getting 16 credits all going towards my actual major. And I was learning to live on my own and things like that. So it was just this collection of amazing experiences and opportunities that I was getting in such a short amount of time. But I think what really stuck with me is the after effect. So after I came back to UNH, first, I couldn't stop talking about semester in the city. Anyone with a pulse, I was pretty much like, this is how amazing this experience was, and you should do it. And I loved it so much that I actually became an ambassador for semester in the city. And that's how I got connected with Faina. And she said, hey, we're piloting this program called the Changemaker Fellowship. You've done semester in the city. We think that you would be great. We want to do this mentorship program. Would you want to be a Changemaker coach? And I loved the program. I loved, talking to younger generations about not only the amazing things that I did, but not to sit and brag, but to really use them as a tool to direct them towards a better future and say, no, these are the opportunities that you can do too. And so, and let me tell you how to get there. So that was really my experience as a Changemaker coach, which was phenomenal because I got to, learn how to really be a leader, but also give back to people that were in my shoes not so long ago. And then,
all right, here, wait, hold on. Let's have there's some questions in the chat. So, Faina, I'm going to direct this one to you. Hi, we do have a very similar program at KOC University, and we had some difficulties during the pandemic about community engagement for the new cohort. What was your strategy in the past year? Do you want to talk a little bit about our community engagement?
Yeah, so I think it depends on what you mean by community engagement, but if you're specifically talking about kind of the local community or regional community and how the cohort interacted or engaged with those, we still had students engage with local companies or regional companies through what we call our Be Impact Clinic, and so that's part of our suite of programs. They were able to continue doing that great consulting work, helping companies assess themselves on social, environmental, and economic categories for the B Corp assessment. And so that's one way that they continued to engage. We also had a viewing. Caitlin was at 13, right? It was about the 13th Amendment. And then we're now planning to have our students engage with letter writing campaigns to policymakers about imprisonment and the kind of unfair situation throughout the country. So we are having them engage with the community. We do still have speakers come and share their expertise and their wisdom. We just are doing it all virtually. Yeah. Jade, do you want to take the next one?
So tied into the same type of question, and can you give us some concrete examples of social outcomes for the community, or is it more based in student development? And I think the answer is kind of yes and. It's focused definitely on student development, I think, first. The community engagement, we think, is a really important piece of that. But our primary role in all 4 years is to develop them as a well-rounded student. The community outcomes and social outcomes are really based in a lot of the programs that they do. So the Semester in the City program works directly with nonprofits, as well as the Semester in the City at UNH program also works directly with departments on campus. And so those are usually, they have special projects where they are creating outputs for these really great social outcomes and doing work. So for example, one of our students at the Semester in the City at UNH program right now, he is working on developing a metric for our ESG funds so that we can measure how many funds in the university's investments are actually sustainable, and they are environmental and sustainable, and that they are socially, they're taking into account a lot of these social factors. So he is developing a metric as part of his project, and so that is going to be a long-lasting social outcome for the university. And so that's a good example of just what our students' work is doing. And he is also a coach, as well as was a fellow previously and has done a few of our programs. And so a lot of this like social outcome comes from just the connection that our students get from being in the program with each other and being around an environment where they're interacting with different students that they wouldn't find in their classes, as well as with the entire Sustainability Institute. So my role as peer-to-peer educator or peer-to-peer coordinator is to connect a lot of our groups. And so our students are able to connect with a lot of the other initiatives that are going on through the Sustainability Institute, as well as through the entire university, and get involved in a lot of those different programs that increase the amount of social outcomes that they can have. So they're not necessarily doing a ton of direct community engagement all the time with just the Changemaker Fellowship, but the Changemaker Fellowship is allowing them to connect with all of these other groups where they can focus and do that work.
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think that's sort of the best part about having a suite of programs in the Changemaker Collaborative, to give students really options in how they want to engage.
I think we're at like 10 seconds. So thank you so much, everyone, for participating. If you asked a question, hopefully this was informative, and feel free to reach out to us with any questions that you might have. We'll be available to answer any more detailed questions about the collaborative and our planning process, and what's happening now, and COVID questions, all of that stuff.
Yeah, Bana, do you want to go back to the contact us page, just in case anyone did not get the website or email?
There we go.
Yeah, great idea. And is it Pelin or Pelin? I see that you had another comment about the community engagement within the group. And so, I think Caitlin spoke about that a little bit earlier in terms of the movie nights, watching, documentaries and movies at the same time. They just played a game. Or that's tonight, they're playing. What's the game, Caitlin? You're on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's we're doing a virtual, it's called We Are Not Really Strangers, and it's a card game to get to know each other on a deeper level and just build really meaningful relationships. So I think a lot of times we get, we're going to the meetings, or if the socials that we're doing are on a much greater scale, especially virtually, it's harder to make those one-on-one connections. And so we're going to be doing some cool like breakout room type things with these games, and it's like a question game. So they sound really excited for it.
Yeah, one of our meetings, we had breakout rooms where we got to brainstorm a board game, like a Changemaker board game, and what would that look like. And so it really allowed people to like come out of their shell and be funny and inquisitive. And so Caitlin's done a really great job thinking, as a student, what other students want, but then also engaging them in learning about what tools they're using to engage with one another. And we've also been using an app called Kokori, Kikori, which has a number of many icebreakers and team builders. Many of them are situated around the SDGs. So we've been really lucky to connect with that app for ideas.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I think there's a really great relationship as well with the coaches. And like I said, the relationship that they've built, a lot of them are upperclassmen. And so, not only are the fellows connecting with one another, but the coaches can really have the ability to lean on one another. And, as a lead and a student, I get the best of both worlds. And so for me, it's allowed me to really connect with the coaches and fellows on more of a realistic and personal level, instead of that top-down mentality.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us, for your questions and your attention. We really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of Ashoka U.
Thanks all.
Thanks all.